just heard Alcest, Le Voyages de l'Ami. That's my terrible pronunciation there. But this is the Requiem Metal Podcast. This is our year in review, 2012, Part 2. I'm Mark.
And I'm Jason. And the meaning of that song is the soul's voyage, or Soul's Journey, or voyage, if you will.
We're American. We're not supposed to understand how to
we
pronounce.
hate French people on purpose, right? That's kind of our thing. Alcest. It's a two-piece, mainly centered around one guy by the name of Nige. And I forgot to mention in other albums that came out this year that were pretty cool. Nige has another, I think it's Nige. It's one of the guys from Alcest. Maybe it's the other guy. Is involved in a band called Les Discrets. And they had a new record, and I'll butcher this too. Arietes Oublés.
Michael Bublé.
Oh, it's good though. It's actually really good. If you dig like what you just heard there with Alcest, or you're unfamiliar with them, I was telling Mark that this record and maybe Royal Thunder were the two records I listened to maybe the most this entire year. I went through a pretty big period. I think this Alcest came out when you were still living there. I want to say it came out like in March or April or even February. So it's been around. It's
been around almost
most of the year.
Yeah, because I remember when Chris came back for Christmas or whatever, he brought some of the other stuff.
Yep.
The other one with like a weird looking gnome thing on the cover.
Yeah.
Whatever
that's the one right before it. That's actually really good as well. But this record, it might be my record of the year. It's hard for me to say. It depends on the mood. This isn't a record that you just like sort of put on just for shits and giggles. Like you can put on that Royal Thunder almost any time. It sort of like fits almost every mood. It's just you can play it around everybody. Alcest is like definitely a moodier record. It's more in the vein of your older sort of peaceful kind of stuff. It's got a lot of Beyond Dawn kind of isms to it, where it's like kind of it feels like a special record, but that's because you're sitting and giving it some like time. Like it's not something you can kind of like listen to in passing. But I just had a lot of elements that worked for me. Just epic songwriting. Kind of had that weird, mysterious thing that those French bands have today. Like we'll talk about later with Deathspell. But yet, like really beautiful.
Real, shoegazy.
Yeah, definitely a lot
lush,
of those things happening. And those records, when we talk about the failures of like Catatonia, some of the cues that the Alcest layers their music with should be what like Catatonia should be doing more of, because that's what they've been successful with in the past. When we get to the Deftones coming up here pretty soon, they did a really nice job of like integrating like the Cure and a lot of like layering kind of stuff into their sound. And I think Alcest just sort of fits that. And for whatever reason, I'm drawn to this sound, in the way that like you're drawn to like sort of retro Swedish thrash metal sort of, simplified sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm like a sucker for like this, shoegazed, layered, epic kind of European stuff, but not like it's got to have a soul. It can't just be like,
it's not. What's the Christmas orchestra thing?
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Yeah, I saw part of that on PBS. I saw Alex Skolnick, playing, and I was like, this is just so masturbatory.
It is. It's funny, though.
But people, it's like an event. It's like going to see Cirque du Soleil or something. It's
my mom's boyfriend took his daughters, and he said it was badass. I was like, those like metal guitar players. He's like, oh, that makes sense. And like it kind of like lend it some like credibility to metal for whatever. But I think I was talking to Jeff Wagner a lot about this record, and he might come on soon and actually help us do an Alcest show, because they're kind of a tough band to penetrate. And I remember him saying like another song I was choosing between this and Beings of Light. He said Beings of Light he thought was his single of the year, and one of the most beautiful songs he'd ever heard. And there's no lyrics to that song. It's just somebody like kind of going, and then blast beats just going underneath it. It's really like incredible, like the whole like experience. It's very similar to on the last show we were talking about that violent song that ends Natural Disaster from Anathema, where it's just like this like kind of cosmic psychedelic energy mixed with like blast beats and stuff. Like it's just a weird place to go. But definitely check it out. And really disappointed. I think Decibel gave this an 8 or a 9, and the fact that it didn't even penetrate the top 40 and stuff that I think was just very pedestrian, cracked the top 40. I think
lists are always going to be controversial.
I just feel like this is a sort of burn in the way that a few years back they left off like Nagelfar, that one Nagelfar record that was just
Ghost.
No, they had Ghost. It was like number 25 or something.
Number 25.
I know. I'm with you. So and it's on Prophecy, and that's a label that I know that gets some coverage. But anyways, maybe it's because it came out in February, but still, that shouldn't matter. That should give it some longevity.
Yeah, I think as far as Decibel's list goes, I don't know how other magazines necessarily do it, but it's all basically all the writers submit their lists, and then it's basically like a college what do you call it, baseball or basketball, right?
Oh yeah, just kind of
the grids or the brackets kind of thing. I think that's how it works.
Well, it's a bummer that Alcest lost to whoever they lost to, because I think this record kicks some butt. So, and then speaking of kind of fitting in with the same thing, kind of talking about the elements of the Peaceful 3 and stuff. Another band had a pretty good year this year.
Paradise Lost has slowly been clawing their way back from their experimental weirdness of
which is a phase that like guys like you and I don't mind.
There's no phase of Paradise Lost that I hate. There's ones that I listen to more than others, but they always kind of have that nugget that's them. There's always some kind of like melancholy to it, and it's always Gregor and Nick in union. I think that's the most important thing of the band. But I've listened to this more than I think any record.
This is up there for me. I ran a lot to this record in the spring and fall, or spring and summer.
I mean, they've slowly been like each record they have probably like, okay, that one's like 70% awesome, or that one's like 64%, like they're almost there. But there's a couple like riffs where you're just like, what needs to happen there? And then coming off the tails of that the Valenfire that Gregor put out kind of in
last year.
Yeah, last year, kind of in tribute to his father for giving him encouragement for all that kind of like all the death metal and crusty shit. I think that really kind of blew the doors off a little bit of the narrow thinking that they had for Paradise Lost, and that gave him a way to get really aggressive and do death metal vocals himself for the first time on any recorded things, and then to go to this, and now you don't have to worry about this pent up emotions of this or that. What you need to do for Paradise Lost,
and he's got a nice sort of looseness to him on this record in terms of how he's playing. I think he's done almost ever. The soloing we hear in this song, "The Last Fallen Savior," is just killer. Yeah, my kind of indication of a good solo is if it kind of like makes gives me like goosebumps. Yeah, and he does it several times in this record. Yeah. And just I don't know, it just feels the record feels really honest and like relevant right now. Could you go so far as to say, because I've said this, that this is the most consistent record they put out since Draconian Times, from start to finish? Yeah. I think it's. Not dismissing what they've done in between. I think it's just from start to finish. It's actually a better record than Draconian Times. I feel that way as well. I think it's more. It kind of like hits all the points of like what they are. Yeah. There's speed in it. It's not kind of like mid-paced and epic like. It's got Draconian. One of the faster songs they ever wrote on it, like the 4th or 5th song. It's got a little drop blast in it too, which is kind of cool. You've got Adrian Orlandis on drums, which helps. He can. Let's go. Yeah. But yeah, I think I hold it right up there with the first couple. Yeah. Really, I think it's probably one of the like in their top 5 records easily. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice to see a band have a good year like these guys. So long in the tooth, but yet so relevant still, Kind of in the same league, with the Anathema and the Graves and the Unleashed, all sort of like stepping up to the plate like 20 years later, 25 years later, and really showing that. What everybody wants to hear is to hear Nick Holmes do death metal vocals again. Yeah. Just once. Yeah. I just want to hear one song where he does it. Yeah. But now that Greg's thrown down that he can do that, maybe we'll have some backing death vocals again. It'd be like Bill Steer. Yeah. I just want to. Yeah, because I remember when that live thing came out and they start doing Gothic. Mm-hmm. I about dumped a load, but he doesn't scream, but it's a little gruffer. Sure. And this is his most like gruff kind of approach since before probably since Icon. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Like a mix between Icon and
what the hell's the other one? Mortals Watch the Day. Shades of God.
Shades of God, yep.
Like, it's kind of a mix between those where he gets into some of those, like, some deeper not guttural, but a little bit more rough around the edges kind of stuff. But, yeah, great record.
Yeah, I was a big fan of this Paradise Lost for sure. And then a record that I think, for me, gives Alcest a run for its money in terms of what's my album of the year, and I know it was high up for you as well.
Absolutely.
Is the Royal Thunder, CVI. And this... hailing out of Georgia, I do believe, right? Is where they come from. I know it's in the South.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I want to say Georgia. Just fantastic.
Or Atlanta or something like that.
Yeah.
One of those, yeah.
What can I say about this? I mean, it's got so many dynamic elements. What you're going to hear in this song, Whispering World, for those of you that haven't had the pleasure of hearing Royal Thunder yet, I mean, I don't know if I listened to another record as much as this record all year. It was kind of like my Paradise Lost. You know what I mean? It was just the record.
It's also one you want to... this is probably the record I've played for people the most.
Yeah.
Because...
just to blow some minds.
I mean, you've got, like, people that like the Kylesa vibe, there's a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. You've got, like, I mean, the best thing next to Heart vocally.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of Riot Girl, like Courtney Love, Babes in Toyland, sort of like early 90s grunge. Kind of, Catherine Hanna kind of stuff going on. She does sort of like the sweet vocals that are like menacing. I mean, it's like, it's all sort of there. Musically, it's catchy as hell. I mean, there's another song that's longer. It's like 9.5 minutes. That's kind of the centerpiece of the record, called Blue, that like begins like a Catatonia, Paradise Lost kind of song or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like 3 minutes of like instrumental before they start like throwing in like these like wavering like southern riffs that are like distorted.
Yeah.
Do you know what song I'm talking about? I mean, it just, and then she finally starts singing, and then when she starts singing, it's like soul. It's packed.
Well, there's no really defining this at all. It's not.
Every song's almost different. Every song's almost different.
I mean, it's like a mixed, like a pop record.
It's got sludge.
It's not, I don't know.
Atmospheric. It's got even jam band qualities to it on some of like the longer songs where there's like almost like Allman Brothers type like soloing and different things.
It's the weird thing that those like southern bands have managed to pull in. It's just such a weird mishmash of stuff, but it all works somehow.
Sure.
And I think that it's got that sincerity to it that really puts it over the top. There's no pretension in anything these people are doing. It's like that's what the songs call for. And I've never heard the first record. I don't know if this is like a...
I think it's just an EP, isn't it? I don't think it's a full length.
I think maybe it is just an EP.
Okay, but I
haven't heard that at all.
I remember reading that Deathspell interview with her where these guys started off as an instrumental band.
Yeah.
And then they heard like they were like fucking around or whatever, and she sang, and they're like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, because she had done vocals, I guess, in like a
she can scream really
like
well,
a grind band or something like that, and so she never thought she had any ability to like sing, and then she tried it, and minds were blown.
But as far as like range of vocal ability on her, it's unreal.
I guess what I would say is this. For me, this is the vocal performance of the year. I don't know if it's the best record of the year, but like when I wanted to blow people away and be like, listen to the like what she does. Yeah. Like I would play like Whispering World or Parson Curse, which I think is the opening song.
Mm-hmm. What's the one that sounds just like
that's the
Heart song?
The fourth song. It's the song in between. It's the song right before Blue. I can't remember. Yeah, it's total like Southern boogie kind of thing going on. But yeah, anyways, Whispering World. This is some kick-ass shit. Kind of in that same vibe, I guess, as the Royal Thunders and stuff this year for me was this Deftones record, and Koi no Yokan. I should know what that means. I think I looked it up at one point and just escapes me right at the moment.
Was it just absurdist?
No, I think it's like Japanese for something maybe. I don't know. But Diamond Eyes was such a great record. I mean, it seemed like not a comeback record because Saturday Night Wrist was good, but Saturday Night Wrist was really like inconsistent. There were like great moments and kind of like forgettable moments.
The turmoil part of the band.
It's also when
the bassist was in the car wreck.
He just got in the car wreck, and they were bringing in so many different producers were coming in around Saturday Night Wrist, and so it seemed like they had kind of gotten their act together with Diamond Eyes. And really, what you get with this is Diamond Eyes Part 2, but even more atmospheric, even more like ethereal in some ways.
Well, the opening cut, I mean, sounds like it could be on around the first.
Yeah, but yeah, at the same time, there are some visceral moments like on Leathers and the opening cut, but there's a lot of like 6-7 minute long like atmospheric like epic kind of songs, which is new for the Deftones. They haven't had like as many of those. They'll have like a Passenger on a record or something like that, or Change in the House of Flies or something, but it's a good record, and it's subtle at first. I was just telling Mark this, the first time he's heard it was today. It's one that once you get into it, you just like can't leave it behind. And talking to Wagner, he said the same thing, that he got the vibe from Alcest or the Witchcraft was this Deftones, like just something where it's just you can play it around everyone. My kids like it, my students like it, like everyone can kind of like get into this.
Well, my buddy across the hall, I mean, ever since probably like I'd say 3 times a week, I can hear the Witchcraft blaring through.
Yeah, exactly.
Hallway,
Exactly. And that's kind of what this Deftones is about. So, yes, it's a mainstream band, but I was telling Mark earlier, this is what the new Catatonia should have sounded like. This is what I want it to sound like, is exactly what you're getting on this Deftones. And so we got Gauze coming up from that.
Yeah, the Catatonia thing is, I think Jonas has to step up more. Like, he's really got to put himself out there.
Yeah, like he did on Last Fear Gone Down, where he was going for broke.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff,
Sometimes,
and I feel like that's the difference between him and Chino at this point. Chino goes for broke on a lot of songs.
Oh,
he's
absolutely.
just really, really there. And there's even buried in this song, the layering on the record, you can hear almost like a Brave Murder Day type riff, kind of like bubbling underneath it. And I didn't notice it until we were listening to it today. So, and then we're going to close up with a couple of former, I guess you could say, they're part of the artistic metalcore, hardcore genre, but they've gone in like different directions. One has gotten almost more focused and more extreme and like almost operating at like their best, and one is kind of abandoned metal almost altogether and kind of gone the poppy rock and roll psychedelic.
I'd say abandoned common sense a lot too, but
yeah, that's true.
I mean, this
is a record where Mark's, and I can totally respect why you wouldn't be sold, because I feel like this is,
and it's like they sold out or something. I just don't think the songwriting's very good. Yeah. I think it meanders. There's too much there. I think if you're going to put out a double record, you should have a reason for it.
Yeah, not a Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Whereas, like, if you took the best parts of Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 and made it to one,
good record,
it would have been a fantastic follow-up to Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just no fat.
But that's the thing, is
there's a lot
I think
of fat in this.
There's just a lot, and there's a lot of, like, it sounds like 2 different bands half the time, and not in a cohesive way.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like the Deftones, they can go across the board doing different, all kinds of different like approaches to songs, but it always sounds like them.
Yeah,
it's got their stamp on it. It's not like, oh, this sounds like a weird like Susie and the Banshees song with some guy that can't sing that great over the top of it.
I feel like maybe this is the beginning of them trying to stamp their sound, and I think the next Baroness record will be telling.
Torch songs.
It does very much sound like Torch. And if that's the genre they're going to go, I guess
it's fine. But we already have Torch. We don't need another band of that. But then Converge, which we'll talk about after the break a little bit, is a band that I don't think is kind of, they're their own category.
They're operating at a totally, like, they're in their own world almost, so. But we'll get into Converge and Baroness a little bit more when we get back. So we got Paradise Lost from Tragic Idol, The Last Fallen Savior. From Royal Thunder's CVI, we got Whispering World, Deftones. We got Gauze from Koi no Yokan. Baroness from the Yellow and Green record, we got Take My Bones Away. And then from Converge's All We Love, We Leave Behind, we have Sadness Comes Home.
I think that Deftones, that's Dwight Yoakam in Japanese.
I think it is Dwight Yoakam in Japanese.
Something you cannot wish. a mistake, but go ahead and take a side. But watch how you choose. I'll be headed for a ride. 'Cause I just don't know if I could. I can't stop once you begin. I can't fight for what you began. You've opened the gate, now face the other side. Just go on, it's cool. Now head into the fight. I just don't know if I could. I can't stop once you begin. Can't fight for what you began. I
Converge, All We Love, We Leave Behind, Sadness Comes Home. And then we heard before that Baroness Would Take My Bones Away from the Yellow and Green record, Gauze from Deftones, Whispering World, Royal Thunder, and we kick things off with Paradise Lost, The Last Fallen Savior. Kind of, I guess, commenting on that Baroness song, you know, it's got some, like you said, catchy moments, but
I mean, the riff sounds like something off Blue or Red.
Yeah,
but
vocally, it does have a real Torch kind of thing going on.
A lot.
For it.
And actually, on the new Mastodon record, there was a track on there that sounded like a Torch song too, which is almost like it's like Queens of Stone Age, really sounding. Just that kind of like propulsive beat and stuff too, and kind of upbeat, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird.
I guess some of the parts that I find interesting on Yellow and Green is, you know, there are kind of these like new wave sort of parts, and there's a lot of different things happening. But I think you're right. I don't ever sit down and listen to the whole both records.
I've listened to it twice all the way through.
I'll put like one album on for like half of it, and then do something else, and then put like the rest of it on.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they want, is you to not listen to the albums back to back or whatever. I don't really know what they're going for, but I think Baroness is like a flavor of the month thing. You know, this is definitely in the bottom end of my albums of the year, but I do have to give it credit for, I guess, being bold and trying to do something different. But
yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know where they're going to go from here. I think it's kind of make or break whether I'm going to be interested in them beyond this.
It seems kind of schizophrenic to me, really.
Yeah. And maybe that's what they're going for, you know. And
I don't know. It doesn't seem as successful to warrant as much
as the
praise and the adoration that it's gotten. I don't think. I mean, the guys had a bus accident. Sweet.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. And I think was it Daisley or Baisley?
Yeah, John Baisley.
I think he's a great artist. I think he's a pretty decent guitar player. But I don't know. This just seems like it's not focused to me.
Sure.
It seems like he's just kind of meandering, trying to figure out what he wants.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate that
There's been some lineup changes too, I think. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but
I don't know why in the hell it got the position it did with Decibel, but you know,
number 2.
Yeah, that seems a fair stretch for me, especially when some albums like Unleashed don't show up.
What would have been
Alcest or
great is have
Deftones.
If
you're gonna go mainstream rock and roll,
have Paradise Lost at number 3.
Exactly.
And like, okay, that's, you know, it's that you can, then old workhorse. I mean, Converge are an old band.
Yeah.
And they can still do great shit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's politics and it's whatever.
I would have rather seen
is different.
that Evoken number 2 rather than number 3 rather than Baroness. You know what I mean? Just something that like had a little bit of brass to it.
Well, when I'm thinking, I don't know how, you know, every magazine and person's going to be different when they're thinking of their list. But I'm thinking of longevity too with these albums.
Yeah.
Like when I'm picking, I'm not thinking of like, okay, this album was like relevant for what was happening in 2012. I'm like thinking in 10 years I can go back. I'm still going to listen to that record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm still going to pull out Royal Thunder. I'm still going to pull out Paradise Lost. I'm still going to pull out, you know, like Enslaved records, you know, things like that. I mean, they're not flavor of the month things. Like, you're right. I can see this being like a big flavor of the month kind of moment for like Baroness the last couple of years with the Blue record and this. But I don't know. I don't know where Baroness is going to rank for me 5 years from now if they're a band I'm even going to think that much about.
I thought on Blue they were kind of stretching a little thin on where they're going to go with the sound.
Yeah.
Too, you know.
I think they had some brilliant moments on Blue. Blue was a great record.
Yeah, I think it is a good record.
But yeah, we'll see. But Converge, Sadness Comes Home, some really cool riffs on this, and goddamn, what a great record.
Well, and I've heard a lot of complaints from people that are like, this doesn't even sound like Converge. I'm like,
it sounds exactly like Converge.
Converge doesn't have. It's like an aesthetic.
Yes.
They don't have a specific sound. They're not going to go back and do like, you know, Unloved and Weeded Out shit. Like,
no.
They never repeat themselves, and they're always like upping the game. Because I thought that after Jane Doe came out, like, okay, nothing's going to be like more extreme than some of the shit on this, like Concubine and all this fuck. And then we get like the second track on here. Forget what the name of it is.
It's just
in front of me.
brutal.
It's fast as balls. It's catchy as shit.
Yeah.
It's like metal to the T. But it starts. Whole album starts out with more of like a singing.
Well, it starts kind of like You Fail Me did, kind of like with some of that sort of stuff. But yeah,
like a real like kind of a punk aesthetic on the first song. But it's just like it's a crossover record, really. I think, like to the utmost extent. Just the riffing on it. I cannot get over the shit that Kurt Ballou things up and it works.
And I love how he takes like what would be kind of a sort of cliche riff for Sadness Comes Home, but he's like bending it and like playing with it.
It's like a fucking old country riff.
Yeah.
But then when it hits into the midpoint, where it's just this balls out double bass thrash riff, and like it all just seamlessly comes together.
Yeah, I've
seen them play the shit live too recently. It was fantastic. They've never disappointed.
Yeah, every time I've seen Converge, I missed that last show, but This is a record I'm very comfortable with them being awarded Album of the Year. Like, it doesn't even make me even blink an eye. Like, I get it. It makes everybody happy.
It doesn't seem like they ever have the expectation, or I don't know if people just don't have the expectation for them, so they can just do whatever.
Yeah.
Or what? But I mean, every time they throw something out recently, it's just like, this is.
Fantastic. Axe the Fall was incredible.
Yeah.
When that came out. I mean.
And because right after that came out, they were thinking like, maybe we're gonna like venture off into this way, and they went the exact opposite way, which I prefer to be surprised on a record.
Yeah.
Because when I first heard this, I was like, holy shit! It's just like pummeling and
it took me a while to figure out where I wanted to like get into this record, like like how to access it, but then you just sort of listen to it as like a complete piece, and you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And what's cool is in the interview, I think in Deathspell, he talks about how what they were trying to do with this record was make like a South of Heaven, or like he goes, I wanted to make it just one of those listenable records that like you just put on. You don't really care what the song is, you just listen to the whole record from start to finish because you just enjoy listening to it. And he mentioned that in Sonic Youth Goo, which is a great record. But
I think that's the thing that he's, they have that kind of like musical scope too, where it's like, I love Sonic Youth as much as I love Slayer.
Well, I remember like when we interviewed him for Eclipse back, one of the last issues we did, I think Chris did the interview, and they spent like 5 minutes of the interview talking about Nick Drake Riverman.
Yeah.
And that was Jacob, it was Jacob Bannon, and so.
Oh, and Bannon did a nice like little thing for the Satan is Alive book. As well, and just real gracious, like, I don't know. I really appreciate guys that are not assholes.
Yeah.
That are in a place of importance, or I hold them in regard, and they're like just really honest. They just love what they do, and they're just good dudes.
He seems super sincere.
Yeah.
And everything about whatever Converge is doing is 100% like sincere. Like, even if it's a misstep in the eyes of some people, like, you can't ever look at Converge and say that they're not interesting or that they're like a sellout. And so it really bothers me that people say like, this doesn't sound like Converge.
Yeah.
Like, bullshit. It is Converge.
Yeah. They're the only band on Epitaph that is worth a shit.
I can't say that 100% because I don't really know who's, but
they're at their
I'll agree
roster.
with you. I'll agree with you.
Since Turbo Negro is no longer on the roster,
that's true.
I don't really care about the.
Epitaph was like a label I think I liked in like 97 or something like that. I think Refused was on Epitaph.
Yeah,
and a few other bands were interesting.
Refused, Bad Religion was on there for a while, but they were kind of past their prime. But
up next, we were kind of going into a different direction, kind of starting back with some retro kind of stuff, and then moving into wasn't a great year for black metal.
There really wasn't that much.
Not a lot.
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of underground stuff that I've never heard before.
Yeah,
but how much of that's really
searching
interesting
for black metal as much as we used to.
I really don't have the time to.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to go see, I saw this band Manicore, which I guess has a fair following. They were playing around the corner.
Huh.
They're from Ohio or something. They sounded solid. They're like a blackened Celtic Frosty kind of thing, and that's cool, but I'm not just going to like go searching online. I've never been like a message board guy.
Yeah.
Which, it'd probably be to my benefit if I was, but a lot of it is, just like word of mouth, like people I respect their opinions, I go check stuff out.
Maybe Chris will bring us some Christmas black metal this year. He always shows up.
We'll see. Sometimes he has some fruity stuff that he throws in there to try.
I think he's starting to get a better feel for what we like now.
I still haven't known the fucking guy for 25 years or something.
Yeah.
20 years, but yeah.
Last year he brought us that really cool French band that was on Metal Blade. They were kind of black metal, but they had like a little bit of down mixed in with them.
Gloria Belial?
Yeah. That was kind of interesting. And offbeat a little. So, but we'll start with the retro stuff. These are a couple of records that you were, I guess we were both into, but you've always been the biggest Black Breath fan of the two of us. But
that's a band that I think the first time I'd never heard them.
I think I had the EP, Razor to Oblivion,
which I never really listened to at all, I don't think. And it's kind of different than a lot of their other stuff, but saw them live. It's like, holy shit, these guys are like, as soon as I heard the HM2, Swedish death metal tone, I was like, well, okay. And this, because it's, the retro thing, okay, there's, how much can you really do with that? But I think when you're coming at it from a different, these guys are probably, I'm guessing, in their mid-20s or something. Yeah. So they were like, 2 or 3 years old when the Left Hand Path came out. So they have a different idea of like, I guess are attracted to certain elements in the thing. And for some reason, Black Breath seems like they can actually get to the heart of exactly what I love in Swedish death metal, more so than some of even the original bands that did it. Yeah. Because it's been around for so long now that they've actually like got it down to like the perfect kind of gestation of that. And this is a record I haven't really seen a ton of coverage about.
No one talks about
They tour exhaustively.
Yeah.
They're a great band. They're really good guys.
I wish they would get their comeuppance. It just really bothers me that they're sort of ignored by the press. It's almost kind of sad.
Yeah, I see stuff occasionally, but just not. And like in any list, because I usually do like a bunch of like searches for this kind of stuff, like on Metal Sucks or just random like some butthole from Nebraska that puts up a list just to see what what kind of gauge what things are going, and it just doesn't seem to be there. But they're just like they're the real deal. They tour their ass off constantly.
Yeah, I've seen them live a couple times, and
Heavy Breathing was a great record, and I
think Sense of Death is even better.
Sense of Life, I think.
Sense of Life, I'm sorry,
is even better. Yeah, it's more kind of like the little bit of hardcore element they had into it is kind of starting to go away a little bit. But they have like Converge's energy, which is, I think, it's hard to really to do consistently, album after album after album, is have like this really kind of just huge energy and like positivity almost.
Well, and the cover is kind of a cool ode to like Kill 'Em All type shit. Like
it's a mix of that and Damage, Black Flag.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. So, but Sense of Life, has so many like Left Hand Pathisms going on. More than what they've had on past records. I feel like they're really starting to cat.
Well, and there's like some Clandestine and some Stranger End EP stuff on there as well, and I think it's a fantastic record. That definitely it's in my top 5 of the year for sure.
And I don't know if it's because they're on Southern Lord and there's kind of like this anti-Southern Lord thing, but who gives a shit? Like I don't know.
I just don't see. I don't see coverage much at all.
Yeah, it's weird. And then a band that's kind of crept up on us both in the last little bit, because it came out only recently, is
September.
Satan's Wrath, Galloping, Blasphemy, and
on Metal Blade Records, which it's kind of nice to hear something on Metal Blade that sounds like it would have came out like around the same time as some of the early Slayer
it's
stuff.
Really good, yeah. This does sound like if you took, I don't know, like Hellhammer,
Iron Maiden Killers,
Slayer.
And an early Slayer. Yeah. Mixed it together with like Hellhammer definitely. And then, mix it together, even like Tormentor and some of that stuff too, just like that really kind of like Mortuary Drape, primitive black metal kind of stuff. And it sounds, it sounds fun.
Yeah, it's a cool, it's
like, this is the kind of record that I would want to make.
Yes.
Yeah. And I could almost not all the guitar stuff, but that's the kind of like thing I would be leaning toward if I was going to do my own record. Like, okay, here's whatever, here's all the equipment, here's this and that, make your own record. That's the kind of thing I would do.
And the guy who put it together is a former member of Electric Wizard.
He went by Taz or...
Yeah, was he the guy that was on
He's completely tattooed bass player.
Yep.
Yeah. He was on Black Masses too.
Okay.
He's been with them since, I think, 2008, but he's no longer with them.
Oh, okay, so he was there
I think he was on a Witch Cult. Maybe he wasn't.
I think he was on Witch Cult. No, you might be right.
I'm thinking the drummer. The drummer's been on since Witch Cult.
I only remember their original lineup with Mark and the guys that left after.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were like dying because they drank themselves into oblivion and shit. But
they probably still only during money.
But so it's kind of a, well, I guess not a side project anymore because he's not with.
Yeah, it's only 2 people. He does vocals, bass, and drums, and then there's another guy like Sean K or something. Like they're Greek guys. They always have I've noticed have really strange kind of. Well, the names are hard to pronounce anyway, so they always like move them, like convince them down to like these goofy things. So whatever. But I couldn't find anything really that I knew of that the guitar player was associated with. But this dude's been in quite a few other things. But it's nice to see something simple again on a major metal label,
and a lot of like cool like melodies in the guitars, like the twin lead sort of Iron Maiden stuff, but like harsher with that Hellhammer Slayer mixture and things like that.
Well, the song we're gonna play too just has, I mean, it starts out with the bells. I mean, it's like, it's classic. It sounds like something like, this is kind of how I can see, like, you know, the next Dark Throne record to some degree. It has that same kind of like enthusiasm for doing what they love to do,
sure,
kind of thing, which I'd like to see more often.
These guys could have been perfect to have done like a something for Satan's Fall. Like, I mean, it's almost like captures that sort of retro Merciful Fate spirit. But
it's got a bit of that old Dutch sound too, to where it's like really kind of simple, good like song structures, but then the guitars.
You mean Danish or Dutch? Oh.
Yeah, I do mean Danish.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you meant, Danish.
Because a lot of those bands were more, you'd have really simple song structures, but then you'd have a lead player that would just go ape shit over the top of it.
It's incredible, like Andy LaRocque and some of those guys. Yeah, so. And then we got a couple
guys from Witchcross.
Yeah.
Everybody go buy Witchcross.
That's a great record. That's one I found. I think it's one of the same time
the Fenrez blog things or something at one point.
Yeah, that I went and pursued. I think that's how I found like Sirathon Gull and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, it was and Hell's Headbangers, that distro/label out of Ohio, just put out a great vinyl version and double CD and stuff. So it's fantastic.
Cool. And then we got a couple of black metal tunes, Marduk's Serpent Sermon, and then Deathspell Omega's Drought, which was a cool EP. I guess, you know, give us a little hint as to what's going on with Marduk, and we'll talk about Deathspell when we come back. But
yeah, Marduk's, I mean, since they've got, oh God, what the hell's the guy's name now?
Mortis.
Yeah. Coming on from vocals from Funeral Mist. They've kind of had a resurgence, I think, since that like ROM record, really. And like,
actually, the record before it was Plague. Jesus.
Oh yeah. Plague Angel.
Plague Angel, I think, or something.
or
Plague. Yeah, it's Plague. It's not Plague Wielder. That's Dark Throne.
But I think this might be like the fifth one where it's actually been like they've kind of reinvented themselves. I think.
Yeah.
Kind of like a stripped down one guitar player. The bass playing has been like spectacular.
Fantastic.
I mean, like filling up the space a little bit. And this record, instead of like being more, because I think the last one was Wormwood was just, that was kind of like their masterpiece of this new era. And this is almost like going back and simplifying things, shorter songs, more kind of compressed, going back to a little bit more of like the hyper speed stuff, but not, it's digestible. It's not just, you can actually have, there's something
like
going on.
Division.
No, and that I can hear stuff, but that's just it's too much.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear that. Like there's like breathing room and stuff in it. Yeah. And it's recorded like really organically too, but this one kind of slid under the radar.
Yeah,
just a little bit
I liked it, but I didn't like absorb it as much as Wormwood and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I remember taking this with me to Ireland this summer. Is one of the, it had just come out. I think same time like Cannibal Corpse Torture, kind of around that time.
Yeah,
loading them both on, and I would like listen to it, but it just wasn't fitting my mood. Like in Ireland, you know, like
just wasn't some Cruachan or some Primordial.
Was it? Yeah, I listened to a lot of Primordial actually in Ireland. But so, anyways, we'll get into this and we'll talk more about Deathspell Omega when we come back. We got Black Breath, Endless Corpse from Senses to Death, Between Belial and Satan.
Sense to Life, too.
Why say Sense of Death? Jesus. What's Sense of Death? Is that an Entomb song on...
Sense of Death, Infernal Overkill, dude. That's Destruction, right?
Okay, yeah, so I knew I was screwing up for a reason. We got Satan's Wrath with Galloping Blasphemy, Between Belial and Satan, Marduk's Hail Mary from Serpent Sermon, and then Scorpions and Drought from Deathspell Omega's Drought. That was Scorpions and Drought from Deathspell Omega's Drought. And then before that, we had Marduk's Hail Mary from Serpent Sermon, Satan's Wrath with Between Belial and Satan, and Black Breaths with Endless Corpse from Sentence to Life, Mark.
That's
not
right.
Sentence to Death.
Death's too easy. Life is hard because you got to live
You're
it.
right. Damn.
Positive.
It's like Hell on Earth kind of thing, right?
That's right.
So that Deathspell Omega EP Drought, that was one I really got into as well.
It'd been a little while since they've... What was the last one they
They
put
had the EP that was like a 20-minute long... no, they didn't.
No,
they had the record...
Pericleus.
That was like either last year or the year before. And that was great.
Yeah, that was really good. Their first on Season of Mist, I think, too. Wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and this kind of just popped up. I didn't really hear much about it, and I just saw it at records. I saw it like in an ad in a magazine or something, and then saw it actually in a record
I think
store.
I just like bought it on a whim at Amazon. Like I think it was right around the time you were moving because I remember it coming out in the summer.
Yeah, I found it at Dearborn Music, which I was like, okay, I'll get this because I don't think they put it on vinyl. So I was just like, I'll grab this. I've been getting more CDs lately too, but yeah, I mean it's
short and sweet. It's kind of what you just heard there. I mean, there's just cool, weird riffs and just it's
because every time I hear their stuff, I think like, what the hell are they going to really do next? But there's just, I don't know, just the stuff they're adding to it doesn't strike me as like things I would think of for black metal or to even be abrasive. But they really, I mean, the atmosphere is something they've like really nailed down.
But I remember like when we played a song from them, or Jeff Wagner chose a song when we did that 2-part progressive metal show, and I remember him saying something along the lines of, whenever you hear a Deathspell Omega record, you kind of go, how did they think about these songs? Like, where did they start to like fit some of these moments together? And that's I guess what true progression is this band that's clearly unpredictable. Mm-hmm. You just don't really know where they're gonna go. I mean, Pericletus had like so many ups and downs and different sort of moments, and there's a lot of like melodic elements. There's even like an indie rock kind of part on this record.
Some of the bass playing and stuff's like not what we really expect, and then there's like ones where they just beat you over the head and it's just like pile driver.
Very, very cool indeed. So, but we're going to close our year-end show with another epic, longer song, kind of in the way that we ended part 1. And this comes from a local band, I guess, local in that they're from America, which is rare sometimes on our year-end shows. And they're hailing out of New Jersey.
We have a pretty good representation.
Yeah, Royal Thunder, Deftones. Yeah, actually,
Black Breath.
It wasn't a bad year for America.
Yeah,
way to go, America!
Except for Superstorm Standy.
Way to go! Yeah. And speaking of Superstorm Standy, New Jersey, Evoken,
Chris Christie, you got to help these guys out.
Yeah, man. This is a band that they've been a while. They've been around for a while, but they haven't put a lot of releases out. I think only like 2 records in like the last 10 years or 15.
They've been around for I think 18 or 19 years.
Yeah,
I remember them back in the day, and I was just kind of it was okay.
Yeah,
but hearing this new record, I just heard one song that you played for me, and I just bought it off iTunes.
Yeah, it's good. It's
really good.
It's solid, and
I mean it's like old Bride meets I don't know.
Yeah, it's Old Bride.
It sounds old.
Like Turn Loose the Swans
but
kind of era.
Produced really well.
Yeah. The keyboards are really, really cool. The vocals, especially in Vogue, kind of like Aaron at his like grimmest and like most depressed kind of. And there's no clean vocals, is there? No, not that I've heard.
Good.
Yeah, not that I've heard.
Sometimes it's cool to just have guttural death metal vocals.
It's very much a Funeral Doom sort of classic, I think, and it's going to grow. I think it's a record like now that winter's kind of approached. I'm going to be way more into this record.
See this because the pallbearer for some reason bums me out. This makes me feel like triumphant.
Yeah, this has that like old,
Yeah, just like holding these riffs out. Not necessarily. There's some kind of melancholy to it, but it's also like destructive somehow too. It's not as fragile.
And the record's about the Black Death, the whole thing. Which is really cool.
The plague. There's been what was it? A Sean Bean movie called Black Death.
Oh, really?
It's on Netflix streaming. It's actually pretty good.
Is it?
It's disgusting. It's great.
Yeah. Well, when I teach my kids about Black Death, they're always grossed out by just the.
This one, it has a weird twist to the thing too, but but it's good. I don't know. It reminds me of it's like a Hammer movie.
Cool.
It has like a weird like Wicker Man kind of vibe to it. But
yeah, I'll check it out. But the name of the song, it's long, but it's called Grim Eloquence, and it's got some cool movements to it. I mean, like Funeral Doom songs, it kind of has a repetitive nature, at least in the beginning, and then it it starts to get pretty creative.
But for the length of the song, I wasn't bored.
No.
And some of the Funeral Doom stuff where it's just dun, dun, like just super fucking slow, that can get boring, but there's actually like some pretty good like melodic guitars and stuff.
Although the riff that you just played sounded like something off Turn Loose the Swans.
Well, I'm thinking, some of this other stuff where it's just dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I know
like for 9 minutes, that drives me nuts.
Yep.
But
it's a little too sparse sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
I want more Doom with my Funeral. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Or like the very first Hooded Menace, where you'd have some really slow old cathedral riffs, and then it would break into a little bit like slow double bass kind of stuff. It doesn't ever get fast.
Or like epic like Bride solo riffs and stuff like in that Hooded Menace. You know? So, but it's the name of the record's Atra Mors, and I think it stands
Latin?
for like it's Latin for like black nothingness or something. I mean, it's an association with the Black Death. I can't
Mors
remember.
Princium Est, the band.
Yeah, I remember them.
I don't know what Mors means.
I think it's death.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
I just mean Black Death.
Mortal death, something. I don't know. I'm just making shit up now at this point, but
I always like to think I can be a linguist just by looking at stuff.
You'd think after years of listening to metal we could put this stuff together, but who knows?
Yeah.
So. But let us know what you thought about our list. If you agreed, disagreed, give us feedback.
If we have glaring omissions, because I always feel that way.
We always forget something, it's inevitable. requiempodcast@gmail.com. Shoot us an email, requiempodcast.com. You can become an executive producer. You can check out some of the merch that we have on there. We mentioned Satan's Fall, the comic that Mark put together. We've got leave us comments on iTunes. We appreciate that.
That's how people find us for the most part.
5-star ratings, and then we're still alive on Mark and Jason on Facebook and stuff like that. So Mark, it's been another good year. We made our comeback. We kind of took a little vacation, kind of had to sort our shit out, and
I think we've only done probably maybe 30 shows this. Well, not even that, probably.
Yeah, I know, it's been a weird year.
Maybe we've probably done about 30 shows this year.
Maybe.
But we should be doing we used to do about 50.
Yeah, 40 to 50 I think is a pretty good pull for us. So we'll record more of a Christmas break for you kids out there, and we'll get it going more consistently. So enjoy 2013. We hope it's a good year for metal indeed. So for Evoken's Grim Eloquence, I'm Jason.
And I'm Mark.
Play by fire. on control.